And I don't see anyone else waiting in the lobby right now. It seems like everyone who's trying to get in has gotten in. I'm keeping an eye on Miss Kelleher while she's assisting me with that. Thank you. So thumbs up. Does it look like everyone's in from the lobby? Great. And that's what our teachers do as well in the classroom, especially with remote instruction. Thumbs up. So you have a little bit of an experience of what your children will be experiencing when they return to school. All right, thank you. Miss Canapa, thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but you're participating. I got your thumbs up. So it looks like everyone's in the meeting, and we're going to get started because this is going to be a very brief meeting. We did have a meeting back on August 19th to talk about the reopen plan and what you could expect as far as special education. Ms. Kelleher Walsh and I have been fielding a lot of questions from parents, and we just want to make sure everyone feels as confident about the return to school as we do. When we met back on August 19th, we weren't really sure that we could envision what schools are going to look like when we return, but we've been out in the buildings and they look really good. Our custodians and, the team out in the building have really been preparing. They're ready for your children, and as well as, any special education concerns. We've been pulling together as a team and making sure that we're trying to think of everything. And we're making sure that we're here communicating with all of you. So
I hate this. This is not working.
This meeting is going to just be, a little bit of a repetition from the August 19th meeting. So anyone who was there, please bear with me. But just a quick review for elementary students. Again, we're focusing first on elementary students. They have a choice of the green model, which is remote only, or the gold model, and that's attending school daily. And I'm just going to very briefly run through our special education services and make sure you have an idea of what that will look like if your child is going to school every day and what that might look like regarding remote. I'm gonna focus first on remote instruction because I feel like that is where we've gotten a lot of the questions coming from parents. So just to give a brief overview, the remote model on the elementary level for all students is going to be really considered a district-wide program. So no matter what building your child would have attended if they went in person, they may be sharing a remote classroom, a remote experience with students from other buildings. The reason for that, obviously, if there's only, maybe one first grader over at Marion Street that's going to be on remote instruction, they won't really have that group experience. And we wanted to make sure that they have a class, they feel that they are part of a classroom. And so it's a district-wide group, which will really make it feel like a classroom to them. They'll have classmates, they'll have the same teachers every day. Some parents did contact me. They said, we got our teacher assignments and I don't recognize this teacher's name. They might not be from the building that you're familiar with, but we do have both a special education teacher and a general education teacher assigned to every one of the co-teach classrooms. And so what that looks like is exactly what it would look like in school, and that is the IEP says that they would get 2 hours a day of special education teacher pushing into the classroom. And the teacher, it's a collaborative program, and the teachers, the general ed teacher and the special education teacher work collaboratively. So even when that special education teacher is not there, they've worked together as a team. The general education teacher knows how to present materials differently, make modifications, differentiate the instruction, because they've really planned the lessons together and they work together as a team. They get to know the needs of the students. And that will happen in the remote model also. And so 2 hours a day, a special education teacher will be participating with the instruction of your child. So the remote classes will follow a schedule just as if they were in school. I know that's not how it felt last spring, but, we've really worked hard. There's been a lot of training of the staff, and there will be a school day. The school day will start, likely with the Pledge of Allegiance and all of the things that they're used to seeing when they're in school. The special class, small special class on the elementary level, we really have, most of the families really opted to participate in person. And so the special education teacher in that classroom, if your child happens to be on remote, will be responsible and will include your child remotely into the classroom activities. They'll be doing, some of the individualized instruction just as they would in any small special class. And that will still happen if you're a family who opted for remote. Resource rooms are written on the IEP for 40 minutes, and the students on remote instruction will have their resource room periods taken out of some part of their school day schedule, just as they would if they were in the classroom. They would have stepped out, gone down the hallway, and been in another location. What we know about remote locations are it could look just like this meeting is right now, where there are a group of us meeting remotely together. So that will still happen. And for that, if some of the students, we're really doing our best to schedule around this, but if some of the students in that group are at home and some are in person, because it's such a small group of students, the teacher will really be able to manage the instruction, possibly having one student remotely and 3 students in front of them there in the classroom. So, and related services. So if that's speech therapy, that could potentially happen that way as well. We're doing everything that we can to schedule a remote group separate from an in-person group, but if they had to do it across locations, we've really strengthened our skills in technology, and we feel confident that we're going to be able to do that. So that's the continuum of services on the elementary level. So that's how it will occur remotely. If your children are coming into school, I know the length of the school day has been modified a little bit. And the other place that you might see a little bit of a change to the schedule is that we know that when students are in person, they're wearing masks all day. They've done a great job making the classroom and the school environment very safe to help students understand how to keep themselves separate, how to keep their masks on, and where it's okay to take a mask off. And that would really be only when they're eating, where there's more space in a large area when they're eating, and outdoors. And so students will be given an opportunity for mask breaks. And so, if you think about their special education services and their total school day, there may be times, I can't tell you if they're going to take a mask break on the way to their speech therapy. That may take a few minutes. But other than that, speech therapy related services are all scheduled as part of their day, just as they always had been in the past. And we'll be following the IEP mandates. They'll be scheduled for the number of sessions they're supposed to be getting. And again, same with co-teach, 2 hours a day. A special education teacher will be in the classroom working collaboratively. Physically, it might look a little bit different. We're used to, in elementary schools, spending a lot of time sitting on the carpets. The kids are just right on top of each other. And, what we know to be really good, friendly, warm, nurturing elementary environments, that's going to look a little bit different. And so the students will be sitting in their desks, and there will be, I keep using the word plexiglass, but it's not plexiglass, but it looks like that, boundaries on top of their desks to keep them safe. And they will be expected to have their masks on at all times. And so when they're in that learning environment, they really need to stay in their space. So co-teach groups are going to look a little bit different. But again, just as I mentioned with the remote model, collaborative team teaching, an integrated co-teach classroom is where both teachers are working together to meet the needs of all students. And so they're going to be collaborating. They're going to be talking about how can we make this the best learning environment for these particular learners. So what we know about some of our students, they need preferential seating. What that could have looked like before would be sit in the front row. But what that might look like in this new learning environment might mean sitting on the side of the classroom where the teacher can have better access to them. So those decisions are going to be made on a class-by-class basis, but the needs of the students are going to be addressed collaboratively across both of those teachers in the co-teach classroom. Small special class I went over already. We have, most of our students have elected to come in daily, and so that will look the same as it always has in the past. We recognize these students may need a little more space to move around, and luckily, less students in the classroom allows us for those opportunities. The teachers of those classes have been working really hard all summer, making sure materials are really thought through as far as the new world of social distancing. But also really addressing the very specialized needs of students in those classrooms. And again, Ms. Kelleher-Walsh and I have been working collaboratively. We're supporting them. We're making sure that they have everything they need in those classrooms. The principals have been making sure that they have everything that they need in the classrooms. And together, as the students return to school, we'll make sure that that continues to happen. And again, resource room, they're scheduled to be there 40 minutes a day. As they're walking through the hallways, they may jointly decide this is a good transition for us to be taking a mask break. I always say to special education teachers, every environment and every time that you're with a student, this is a learning opportunity. So if they're addressing social skills, this is the time while they're taking that walk, they're going to ask them what they did over the weekend. Speech therapy, related services, the same kind of thing. So, the learning environment is changing. We know that kids are moving through this space differently, and the amount of time is going to look a little bit different. You're not sitting in a chair for that entire session. You may be taking your mask break. You may be walking through the hallway together. You may go into a large space indoors for a movement break, because that's what we know a lot of our students need, especially on the elementary level. So I think I ran through the continuum of services as we know it in both environments. Again, I just wanted to give everyone a refresher because I feel like we continue to have a lot of questions. I want to welcome all of you to, I said this on August 19th, and I got a barrage of phone calls and emails the next day, but I did get back to every one of you, and I invite you to please ask if you have questions about your own particular child. I did actually mute everyone for this particular meeting just because there was a lot of background noise, and I know that would interfere with my sound quality. But I'm going to open up the mic now, and I just want to remind you we're being recorded, and this is live, and it's going to go onto the website. So I ask that you don't speak about your own child, but again, I welcome those conversations and would be happy to ask and answer any individual questions any of you may have. And I'm going to just start with Ms. Kelleher-Walsh. If you, I don't know if I'm going to be able to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
I can.
Okay, great. So if you can just jump in, did I miss anything that you think that we want to make sure that we know parents of elementary special education students have an opportunity to know now?
No, I think you gave a comprehensive overview of what we're planning on doing on Tuesday. And
Okay,
I am looking at the chat to see if there's any questions have been posed, and nothing has been posted to date.
Wow, we must have really covered everything. That's good to know. Okay, and so if you look at your computer screens, you may have the opportunity to unmute yourself. If you do have a question that's a question for all, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself, ask any question that you think someone else can benefit from. And please take me up on my invitation to reach out, whether it's by phone or by email, and I promise to get back to you so that I can answer any individual questions you may have about your students.
Hi, can I ask a question about the masks?
Sure.
Okay, what if the student can't wear the mask for the duration of period of time, especially in the beginning as they're getting used to it? If they can't wear the mask or they don't understand that they need to wear the mask?
Sure. And so I'm going to answer the question in a broad manner because we know when we're speaking about special education students, everyone's in a little bit of a different situation. And so if students are able to wear a mask, we're expecting them to. That's on the bus, that's approaching the school, that's passing through the hallways, and it's even sitting behind the boundaries of their desk in their classroom. We do recognize, and there may even have been a few rare cases, there's maybe a medical situation. Those have been worked out with our central administration. But we're expecting all students to have masks on all the time. And so if it's part of their disability that they're first learning to either tolerate or understand, those students are likely to be in one of the really, really well-supported classes where that's one of the first things that we're working on when they're coming into school. If you think that you might have, a child that is in a general education class, we may not know that they're coming in and this is a real problem for you. Reach out, let us know. We can certainly work with you on how we can teach that skill. But the good thing is that, really where students could potentially have some difficulty really understanding and being capable, those students are in a much smaller class. It's one of the first skills that they're going to work on. They're going to use the same strategies, the same behavioral approach that we use in those small classes to teach any skill. And this is going to be one of the tasks that they're going to be focusing on. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. And again, if anyone has an individual concern that you think, it just might not have occurred to us, or you didn't know that you needed to reach out to us and let us know if you think your child is going to have really an issue. They really don't understand that they have to wear the mask or it can't be tolerated for some other reason. Please make us aware and we'll work together on that. Because the expectation of all the other parents as they're sending their children back into a safe learning environment is that everyone's wearing a mask. Was I really that thorough? That's fantastic.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? I had one question about the one-to-one aids. If we are practicing social distancing, I'm assuming that is, not that it's not a thing with the aid, but there is some, I guess, closeness that does happen because they do have to be there for the child or the student, I should say. Is that posing an issue? I don't have an issue with that, but I wonder how that works with, I guess, these regulations and,
Right.
I understand the mask rule, so that makes me more, I guess, secure. But I just was wondering about the social distancing, like how does that work with a one-to-one aid?
Right. So that's a really good question. And we've addressed it with our staff in a variety of ways. And hopefully this will comfort you also as a parent. One of the things that we're doing is we are going to be providing some extra training to our aides. So, really understanding how wherever possible, we're using something other than close proximity to work with a child. So those are behavioral strategies. Those are different ways that we can motivate students to cooperate and comply with what's being asked and make sure that the learning environment is a safe learning environment and that they're staying in the safe learning environment. should that approach be necessary where they come in closer contact, additional personal protective equipment is being provided to them, not only to protect themselves, but as you said, to protect your child. So they may have another layer of a clear face shield that goes over their mask. You know, so everyone wears a mask. The face shield is not protective in that manner. So, you know, that would be something additional. If they feel they may need to touch your child, whether it's even, you know, just to prompt them, sometimes, you know, a student might need a guiding, you know, tap on the shoulder and that kind of thing. They may have gloves on. You know, but they may even choose to wear scrubs. You may see some people who might be in a situation where they're not going to wear their regular clothes back into their house because they know they're coming into very, very close contact with those students. So we do have a variety of students who have a variety of needs, and you know, that's certainly been taken into consideration. And that PPE is put in place to protect the students and to protect the staff and to maintain safety in the learning environment.
Hi, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Hi, in regard to the aids, if your child is being asked to share an aid with another student, and you know, the child has special medical needs, are they supposed to be sharing an aid, or are they supposed to have their own aid?
Whatever is written on the IEP. So when that plan was developed, the needs of the students were taken into consideration. And so there's very clear guidance from the state education department on the criteria or situation that would meet the level of requiring a one-to-one aid as opposed to a shared aid. And so that was discussed at the CSE and a plan was put in place. The individual education plan either said one-to-one or shared and what that ratio might be. Sorry, excuse me. And that's what's written on the IEP, and that's what will be followed. And so if for any reason, just like if COVID wasn't, you know, if we weren't doing, you know, planning for social distancing, if the situation changes for any reason, the committee reconvenes and they discuss the needs of the students, and, you know, there's a potential for making changes to those plans if the needs aren't being addressed appropriately. So, you know, if going forward, if there is any concern, then, you know, reach out to one of us and we can certainly discuss that. But as of right now, the plan is to follow the plan that was put in place at the CSE.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I've spoken to many of you over the summer. Again, I'm going to say I really, you know, just look forward to getting to know you, and even more so, I can't wait to meet your children next week. So, you know, they're really limiting the interactions that happen in the schools. So I hope I am able to get into classrooms and meet your students, or, you know, get to know them, but that may take a little bit of extra time given the circumstances. But really just getting to know a lot of you over the phone, and you know, it's just been a pleasure being welcomed into the community. So thank you. And again, you know how to reach me. So if you do have individual questions, please let us know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're wrapping up our elementary portion of this meeting. And we anticipate a lot of our high school parents may be starting to log in. Hello. Hello to everyone who's signing on. We're just slowly letting everyone in from the lobby. We had just finished up our elementary portion of the meeting and we're moving into secondary. We broke it up because it does sometimes look a little bit different, so. We'll give everyone a couple of minutes to log in. So thanks everyone for joining us this evening. I think we still have a couple of people joining us. My trusty helper here, Miss Kelleher Walsh, is admitting people to the meeting as we speak and has been a big help to me in so many ways, but this has been very helpful for this meeting. Thank you. So I just want to bring to everyone's attention that we are recording the meeting. It will be on the district website for anyone who wasn't able to attend. We did have a very thorough reopen meeting back in August, and this is just a brief, this is it. School's starting on Tuesday, and we're so excited and we're so ready. And so we just wanted to reassure parents, we're just fielding still a lot of questions and want to make sure that you have another opportunity before sending your children in on Tuesday to make sure all your questions are answered and just do a brief overview of what special education is going to look like as your students return. I would say return to school, but return to their educational experience, whether that's remote or hybrid or in person. So I'm going to go through, the overall plan for all students to attend. I'm going to go through the continuum of services and what that will look like remotely and in person. And, at the end, certainly if people still do have questions, but again, I'm going to remind you that we're recording the meeting, so please don't speak about your child personally. If you have individual questions that might be more confidential, please reach out to me by phone or email, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So the overall plan in the secondary schools is for students to either be on full remote, and they'll receive all of their instruction remotely, the green plan, or the blue hybrid, where they'll be attending school every other day, and every other day they will be participating remotely. They're part of the classes that are in their schedule, just as if they were all in the same classroom. And those classes are being streamed to the remote learners that are not physically there. So it's not that, you know, your student is going to relearn something every 2 days or, you know, only participate some of the time. It's a whole class and they're considered part of that whole class. And the lessons are being streamed and everyone's participating at all times. So they're following their full school schedule. The one thing that'll feel a little bit different, I think, if students are on remote instruction, is to just really understand that as the students who are in person are physically moving through the hallways and changing classes, that they be allowed a little bit of extra time to stagger what those, you know, passing in the hallway looks like, to keep everyone socially distant, to allow for mask breaks. They may step out and get a mask break. And so, you know, the length of the period will look and feel a little bit different to you if you're on remote instruction. But, you know, maybe that's a good time for your child, that student at home, to take a little movement break as well. And, you know, our special education students could always benefit from a movement break. So that's the only place that it should really feel a lot different between remote instruction and students attending in person. One of the big questions that we've fielded a lot of phone calls on is, I heard special education students are allowed to attend every day. And what we've done is we've taken special consideration for students who have the kind of learning needs that might require that they attend daily. And those are really students who attend a very small special learning environment. So those students who are enrolled in small special class could potentially be offered the opportunity to attend daily. If that applies to you, you know, I reached out to you by phone and by email, and we've had conversations, and we've arranged transportation, and we've arranged for all of the other things in your child's schedule, because if they are, you know, it's not their day that they would have attended in person, but they have art class, we've made arrangements for them to have a full schedule in school every day. So just to be really clear to all of the parents who that applies to, is if your child was in a small special class, in, you know, they just have a special education teacher and a smaller number of students in the class. Those are the students that applies to. Otherwise, you're one or the other, blue, hybrid, or green remote instruction. So for students who are hybrid, you know, we're really doing everything that we can to address things through scheduling and have you receive things like, you know, related services in person wherever possible. But where that's not possible, those classes, those speech therapy sessions or related services or smaller learning environments like a resource room, those would be provided in the same manner. They would be streamed. It might feel a little bit different because it's not a whole class, and there might be 2 students sitting next to the teacher and 2 students remotely, because you're really talking about a maximum of 5 students in those environments. So wherever possible, we're trying to keep groups together, but that might not be possible, especially with the scheduling in the high school with all of the electives. And so to them, it will likely feel very similar to what we're doing right now. The teacher will have a laptop, the students will be sitting around them, and they will have a shared experience for their resource room and for their related services. And certainly we're following the correct number of sessions, whatever is written on that IEP, those students are receiving those numbers of sessions. Just keep in mind, the length of the period for all students has been modified to allow for social distancing, safe passing in the hallway, and mask breaks. But the numbers of sessions are certainly going to be exactly what's written on the IEP. We're providing those services exactly as they're written on the IEP. So we had a question earlier about, if a student has additional adult support, whatever is written on the IEP is what will be provided. And that plan was made in a very individualized manner just for your child. And when that team came together, they put programs and supports in place to meet your child's needs. So if there's a co-teacher in the classroom, there will be a special educator and a general education teacher working collaboratively, planning together. Where it might look a little bit different is physically in the classroom. So for those students who are blue, or they could potentially be attending daily, the space in the classroom is, we're really asking students to remain in their desk space behind the physical barrier that's there. And so they're not getting up and switching desks and regrouping and things like that, like they might typically do in a co-teach classroom. But those teachers are working together to differentiate the instruction, to make sure they're meeting the individual needs of those students. They may choose their seats in the first place in a way that puts them in closer proximity to whatever supports they might need in that classroom. And they're planning together based on the needs of the students to make sure that that happens. So that's the way that it will look remotely, and also the hybrid. I think we had, one other question at the previous meeting, just, well, what about aides? It is another body in the classroom, but it's a support that was written on a student's IEP because they require that support. And so if that's your child and their IEP says that they get that additional support, it will be provided, and that additional body has been accounted for by the building as far as considering the numbers of students in the classroom. Ms. Callahan-Walsh, do you think that I missed anything for the secondary programs?
No, I think you're good, Mrs. Saban.
Okay. I see that we have a lot of guests signed in. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I would invite you, if you're muted, please feel free to unmute. Again, please keep in mind, if you weren't on when I mentioned it earlier, the meeting's being recorded. And I'm not going to respond to something confidential about your child here, but you can reach out to me privately and I'd be happy to answer any of those individual questions. Anyone have any questions or anything to add?
Hello, this is Debbie again. I have my daughter who is actually first going to middle school. She just graduated. Will they be changing periods, like changing classrooms? And if the child does have an aide, will be escorted by the aide, or I guess how does it work with that? She's never experienced that before, so that will be something new for her.
Yes, they will be changing classes, and if she has an aide with her, full time, that aide usually would travel with the students. Ms. Callahan, it looks like you have something you want to add.
When, and as Mrs. Saban had indicated before, at that, spring meeting, when the committee recommended that a youngster may need an aide or group aide, there's a plan for that aide. So if a youngster or student needs support in the hallway transitioning, that's part of the plan, and that is communicated to the student's aide.
I didn't have a chance to mention, but we are going to be doing extra professional development and training for our aides on those 2 half days that are coming up next week. So when your kids are coming home a little early from school on Tuesday and Wednesday, as they just adjust to being back, we're going to be really working hard together with those aides to make sure that, we're taking into consideration the environment, the safety, the social distancing, and how we're working with students in this new environment.
Hi, can you go over the protocol for the temperature taking in the lower school and the upper school?
That is a very good question. And I know that, you need to fill out a questionnaire ahead of time. Did you get the most recent communication from Dr. Barak on that?
Yes, I haven't read through it yet, and so I don't know 100% what it is. I will go through the emails though.
Okay. You know what? Can I call on Miss Hanson? Do you know anything more about the temperature checks?
Hi, this is Heather Hansen. Hi, everybody. I sit on the school board, and I have a child in the high school. With respect to temperature taking, the parent or guardian would take the child's temperature before the child goes to school. And then when the child arrives at school, they're going to indicate either via a form, this is which I'm using my hand as a prop, a form, or they're going to have an app on their phone. And that's explained in one of the emails or on the website. And you're going to use the child is essentially using that form or that app to indicate to staff in any building that their temperature has been taken and that they show no symptoms, and then they will get access to the building. So the temperatures are being taken on a daily basis, but they're being taken in the home, not in the school.
I'm so glad you joined us.
Did I answer that fully?
Yeah. And Mrs. Hanson, that app that you're referring to, I believe is called the Zip Slip, right?
Yeah. Yep, it is. It's called that.
So make sure that you do take a look at that most recent email. I downloaded it last night. It took about 5 minutes, and it takes about 30 seconds to fill out the questionnaire. So just know that that's really easy to do, but you should plan to make that part of your day and become familiar with it over the weekend before Tuesday.
I'm sorry, the name of the app again?
Zip Slip.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, and it went out as part of a message from Dr. Burak just yesterday, I think. Does anyone have any other questions? I just want to reiterate that, I'm readily available through email and by phone, and I would be happy to answer, more individualized questions that way. I think, did we have one more question?
It's me.
Hi.
It's Laura Hastings. I sent it in the chat. I didn't want to bother you. But I was wondering if transportation and the procedure that we've enjoyed in the past has changed, because typically I've had like messages already from your office, from the dispatcher, coordinating things, and I haven't heard yet. So I don't know if it's a change or if it fell through the cracks.
There has not been I'm sorry. There's been a change of safety procedures, but that
Right.
has not been a change in how transportation is set up.
Okay. So I'm just assuming then Michael will have his special transportation and I shouldn't worry on Tuesday.
You should be getting a call.
Okay. All right. We have one day left.
And those safety procedures apply to the school bus as well. So the school bus is considered an extension of the school, and before they get onto the bus, you'll have to be prepared with that screening. It can be done by paper for anyone who's not not going to download the app. You could potentially do it by paper, but it is really easy to do on the app.
And the matrons or whomever is going to put the kids on the bus at dismissal, they'll take care of that need, I'm assuming. from the school onto the bus.
The need coming from the school?
Right, because I understand that since they're not our buses, the independent organizations, busing companies want us to clear the kids before they get on the bus, so.
Okay, well, again, if they have they've been screened before coming to school, that's absolutely
That's-
part of the screening.
Okay, great.
They have to wear masks, they even waiting at the bus stop, because if there's, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be the case for you, but anyone even waiting for a bus is being instructed to wear a mask.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm waiting for those emails. I know they're coming, and I promise to respond. So if anyone does have any questions, I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to getting to know your children. It might be a little bit of a slower start because they're not going to have a lot of extra people in the buildings, but thank you for the warm welcome to Lynbrook.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Have a good holiday
Bye.
weekend.
Thank
Good
you.
holiday.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.